The House will come to order. This morning, the pledge will be said by Isaac Werner from Legend High School in Parker, Colorado, guest of Representative Ransom.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Randall, please call the roll.
Representatives Arndt, Paisley, Beckman, Benavides, Byrd, Bockenfeld, Buck, Buckner, Puenteo, Caraveo, Carver, Catlin, Coleman, Cutter, Duran, Escar, Exum, Froelich, Galindo, Garnett, Geithner, Gonzalez Gutierrez, Gray, Hanson, Herod, Hooten, Humphrey, Jackson, Harkes Lewis, Kennedy, Kipp, Kraft Tharp, Landgraf, Larson, Lewis, excused. Liston, Lontine, McCluskey, McKean, excused. McLaughlin, Melton, Michelson Janae, Mullica, Neville, Pelton, Ransom, Rich, Roberts, he's walking in.
He's right there coming in.
Yeah, there we go. Sane,
There she is.
Sandridge, Singer, Sirota, oh, sorry. Snyder, Soper, Sullivan, Tipper, Tatone, Valdez A, Valdez D.
Good morning, Colorado.
Van Winkle, Weissman, Williams, Wilson, Madam Speaker.
With 63 present and 2 excused, we have a quorum. Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the Journal of Tuesday, April 9th, 2019 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion passes. Members, please be quiet. Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to take a moment for personal privilege. I want to take a minute to talk about an act of hate that occurred in my community. As I was driving in this morning, I was struck by the weather today and how it really encapsulated my mood. I feel dark and gray because on Monday night, a swastika was burned into the asphalt at Ellis Elementary in my Southeast Denver neighborhood. This is an act of hate, a threat of violence, and it is meant to sow fear. And I'm saddened and outraged that such a crime would be committed in my community. I'm grateful for the swift response of the Denver Police Department and Denver Public Schools, from Principal Whiteman to Superintendent Cordova. We must stand together in solidarity with our community to be clear and unequivocal in saying that hate has no home here, that we honor and respect the beauty and diversity of our educators, our students, our families, our neighborhoods. Just last week, a Denver church was vandalized with a swastika. With these and other public displays of hate on the rise, we must stand shoulder to shoulder as we say loudly, hate has no home here. And it is my fervent wish that we, as representatives of our communities, are mindful, especially in these dark days, that we are delivering messages of support, love, and solidarity at home as well as here in the chamber. That to our most vulnerable members of society, we say unequivocally that hate has no home here, and that we all think individually about how we can live that message in our everyday actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Sirota. Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a tribute here, and I'd like to ask that it be read, and that the Rural Affairs and Agriculture Committee could come down to help us honor someone is most deserving.
The House of Representatives, convened in the 72nd General Assembly, hereby extends sincere commendations to Mr. Danny Williams on his induction into the Colorado Agriculture Hall of Fame. Mr. Danny Williams has been an advocate for agriculture in Colorado for over 40 years. An Eagle County native, Mr. Williams has served both as Eagle County Commissioner as well as 4 terms in the Colorado State House of Representatives. In addition to his career in public service, he has worked in the private sector on behalf of agriculture, as well as worked raising sheep and cattle. He is highly respected for his ability to negotiate to find solutions so that agriculture, industry partners, and commerce can work together for the benefit of all involved. The members of the Colorado House of Representatives are proud to congratulate Mr. Williams on earning this prestigious award and thank him for his many years of hard work on behalf of the agriculture community in the great state of Colorado. On request of Representative Jenny Arndt, given this 10th day of April 2019, State Capitol in Denver.
Oh, thank you, members, and thank you for being quiet and listening to that. And former Representative Danny Williams is up in the gallery today because he's also a registered lobbyist at this point. So we have to keep him safely away from us. But that doesn't mean that we don't honor him and all his past, his heritage, his hard work as a county commissioner, as a state representative, as one of the most respected lobbyists now, knowledgeable, and the tribute to him at the dinner this year, inducting him to the Hall of Fame, was truly special. So thank you.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just wanted to, on behalf of the Rural Affairs and Agriculture Committee, but also on behalf of Eagle County, thank you for your service to our community and to our state, and congratulations on this much-deserved induction into the Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, Representative Catlin.
Thank you. When I got here, I needed friends. I needed somebody who knew the pathways around this Capitol. Danny Williams was one of those that showed right up. Took me by the hand, showed me around. I want you to know he's become a friend of mine, and he's a deep friend of agriculture. Thank you very much.
Representative Buck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I have to say, on behalf of my father, Bill Webster, you had to put up with him in the legislature, and now you're having to put up with me in the legislature. We both, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for all that you do for agriculture, sir. Congratulations.
Representative Will.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you. I just want one of my favorite constituents from House District 57 is here joining us on the floor today, Mr. Brett Jolly. If you'd please stand up. I'd like to recognize Brett. He's he's here getting ready to fly out for Base Camp 40, which is the Warriors in the Wild. And on a hunting deal, they're headed to South Africa with, I think they got two Medal of Honors, one Silver Star and two Gold Star kids going on the hunt in South Africa. So he's flying out this afternoon, and I just want to recognize him. He's one of the large landowners over in my district, and he's been sponsoring these Base Camp 40 hunts for several years, and it's a great thing for disabled vets, and I just want to thank him for what he's doing and what he's doing for our veterans. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Speaking of veterans, the Veterans Caucus is April 15th. That's Monday from 11:30 to 1300 hours in HRC 112 down in the basement. And the topic is going to be mental health and suicide prevention. And if you look on the back of your flyer, there's some information for most of our counties, and that talks about the age range that people are committing suicide in your counties. And I thought it was fascinating that El Paso County is the only one that has the 18 to 34-year-olds. The other counties are up to 55. I think 55 is the highest. Anyway, take a look at that. Boulder County, 55 to 74-year-olds. So look at the back of your flyer, look at the front of your flyer. If you're going to come, the person that's speaking is a true expert. Give Jerry a call so we can make sure you have lunch. It's very important. This will be probably, it is the last, it'll probably be the best Veterans Caucus this year.
Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I invited you to a party yesterday for the Raucous Caucus, Rural Caucus. Well, all the news today said, man, you better watch out. So I was inviting you to come and learn how to two-step. But instead, I'm just going to moonwalk right on out of this party.
Woo-hoo! Way to go, Representative Catlin. That was awesome. Are there any other announcements or introductions?
Hold on, there may be one more.
Okay. Seeing none, the next order of business. Oh, I have one announcement. Representative Buckner will replace Representative Gonzalez Gutierrez in Public Health and Human Services today only. The next order of business is third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Randall, please read House Bill 1267.
House Bill 1267 by Representative Singer and Froelich, all Senators Danielson and Rodriguez, concerning criminal offenses for failure to pay wages in connection therewith and preliminary recommendations from the Colorado Human Trafficking Council.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1267 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1267 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 64 aye votes, no votes, and 1 excused, House Bill 1267 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1227.
House Bill 1227, Representative Benavidez, concerning a requirement
For
that the
this
Department of Personnel create a prevailing wage working group to determine the appropriate manner in which to implement a prevailing wage requirement of state contracts.
Thank you, Madam. You didn't even recognize me. Oh, but I have.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lower House Bill 1227 because there isn't a Senate sponsor. One day till tomorrow, Thursday, April 11th.
The House Bill 1227 will be laid over 1 day, according to the Majority Leader. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1268.
House Bill 1268, Representative Singer and Van Winkle, Senators Todd and Heisey, concerning a requirement that the referral agency make disclosure to respective resident and assisted living residents.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1268 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1268 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 64 aye votes, 1 excused, House Bill 1268 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1248.
House Bill 1248 by Representatives Weissman and Cutter, also Senator Foote, concerning measures to promote transparency about the activities of persons lobbying state government officials in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1248 on third reading and final passage.
Just one moment. Marilyn, is there a Senate sponsor for this? Because it's not listed yet. Okay. The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1248 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 42 aye votes, 22 no votes, and 1 excused, House Bill 1248 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1259.
House Bill 1259, Representatives Robertson, Pelton, and Senator Donovan, concerning support for Species Conservation Trust Fund projects in connection with making transfers to and appropriations from the Species Conservation Trust Fund for purposes recommended by the Department of Natural Resources.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1259 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1259 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. I almost don't think we can do this bill today, period. Please close the machine. With 54 aye votes, 10 no votes, and 1 excused, House Bill 1259 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 63.
Senate Bill 63 by Senators Briola and Story, House Representatives Montoya and Valdez A, concerning a strategic action plan to address infant and family care home shortages in Colorado.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 63 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 63 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Bachenfeld. Please close the machine. With 49 aye votes, 15 no votes, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 63 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 65.
Senate Bill 65 by Senator Garcia, House Representative Exum, concerning the creation of a peer health assistance program for emergency medical service providers in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 65 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 65 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Landgraf. Please close the machine. With 60 aye votes, 4 no votes, 1 excused, Senate Bill 65 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 90.
Senate Bill 90 by Senator Scott, House Representative Gray, concerning the operation of peer-to-peer motor vehicle sharing businesses.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 90 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 90 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Please close the machine. With 50 aye votes, 14 no votes, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 90 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1266.
House Bill 1266, Representative Harrod, also Senator Fenberg, concerning the voting rights of persons serving a sentence of parole in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1266 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1266 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Buck and Mullica. Please, Buck. Okay. Please close the machine. With 45 aye votes, 19 no votes, and 1 excused, House Bill 1266 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1253.
House Bill 1253 by Representatives Landgraf and Buckner, also Senators Heisey and Gonzalez, concerning a prohibition on discrimination against a living organ donor and certain insurance policies.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1253 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1253 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Members, it's getting really loud in here. Please close the machine. With 64 aye votes and 1 excused, House Bill 1253 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. The next order of business, Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hey, members, just a heads up, we're going to move a very short special orders calendar today to maximize our time so that we can take advantage of this morning together. So I move the following bills be made special orders on April 10th at 9:41 a.m. House Bill 1271, House Bill 1272, Senate Bill 139, and House Bill 1239. There is a list up here for you if you need it.
Those bills will be made special orders according to the Majority Leader at 9:41 a.m. Representative Tatone. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Tatone will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request to read the bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the majority leader. And the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1271.
House Bill 1271, Representatives Arndt, also Senator Quorum, concerning clarification of the authority of the Colorado Water Conservation Board to augment stream flows with acquired water rights that have been previously decreed for augmentation use.
Representative Arndt.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1291 and the committee report.
To the committee report.
The committee report, we had 3 amendments, L001, 2, and 3, and what we did to the bill was add some conforming language in case the House Bill 1271 passes, and we also made some technical adjustments to the language to clarify some things, and then L001 was the substantive amendment, which we added in transit losses that needed to be included in the OG plan. And I urge an aye vote on the committee report.
Representative Arndt, could you move the proper bill number, please?
Oh, I thought I did. I move House Bill 1271. And the committee report. Aren't we on 1271?
Seeing no discussion on the committee report, the question upon us is the passage of the committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The committee report passes. To the bill.
Thanks. You know, you don't see a water bill very often that has absolutely no opposition. People are either neutral or in favor. So this is a bill that clarifies the authority of the Colorado Water Conservation Board, okay, to augment stream flows, okay, through a changed water right. We're using the court processes twice to file an augmentation plan that includes in-stream flow, and I urge a yes vote.
Is there any discussion on House Bill 1271? Representative Catlin.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, too.
Thank you. Members, I come down on this bill today to talk about augmentation plans. We do have augmentation plans in the state of Colorado, and they're really used to allow you to continue to divert. I'm a little concerned about opening it up and allowing augmentation plans for in-stream flow. In-stream flow is one of those things that we're still trying to figure our way out. I'm concerned about shepherding water past one head gate to the next head gate to the next head gate and having to re-engineer and create head gates that won't divert water when the river is full. I would like to see this go to an interim water committee if we could. Thank you. I urge a no vote.
Representative Arndt.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. We're also concerned about shepherding water and in-stream flow, and that's why we have 2 separate court processes that ensure there's no injury and that this is all taken care of within the court of law. So thank you for those comments. I would like to also say that the River District from the Western Slope, Northern Water, Water Conservancy, the Northwest QQ, Colorado State Engineer, City of Greeley, City of Fort Collins, Conservation Colorado, Water Conservation Board, Department of Natural Resources, and the Colorado Water Trust are all in favor of this bill, and there are no opposers.
Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I was in the committee that this bill was heard at, and I had one water manager that was neutral on it. I had another gentleman that was on a board of an irrigation district, and he opposed it for various reasons, so I'd ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning. I was unable to be here Monday because I had to go to the doctor. But anyway, I oppose this bill. I will oppose it on the floor, and I'm going to oppose it when I vote my box, and I'll tell you why. This is my third year here at the state capitol. I can tell you that some of us here want to rewrite water law. We want to change the way the water's going. We want to give more power to the state engineer, and I don't. I believe there's too much power now in the Colorado Water State Engineer. And I believe that we should all be a no on this bill because of the power that it gives. Plus, we're rewriting the way water should be put back in the stream. I don't agree with that, the way the bill is written. We here that are here long enough, and since I'm here my third year, I thought it was real interesting the Representative Arndt left off the supporters. She left off the Nature Conservancy. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, I am an adamant no, and I urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Representative Arndt.
Thank you. The Nature Conservancy. I thought I said it. It's on my list.
Representative Buck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I have to tell you, I would ask for a no on this. When I think of in-stream flows, we think about rivers. And as you know, Colorado is a desert. And there are no extra waters for the river. The rivers run dry, the rivers run wet. When you start pulling waters from, say, agriculture, and you've got the fish going, and you've got the kayaks, and you've got everything else for, say, recreation, agriculture gets hurt on this. So I ask for you adamantly a no on this bill. Thank you.
Representative Sain.
Thank you, Chair. And Representative Arndt probably knows this is coming, but we've already got in-stream flow augmentation, in-stream flows in Weld County where it's actually going into people's basements. And that is not time, place, and amount. It's a hijacking of the prior appropriation system. I'm not saying that augmentation itself wasn't an amazing invention. It is. But it appears that our state just will not regulate it properly. It will not use scientific data to make sure that that water is actually going to be in the river in time, place, amount when it's needed. And if that's occurring in Weld County, it certainly will not be managed or directed properly in the rest of the state under this bill. So you're going to see water hitting in the wrong time, wrong place, wrong amount. And that's, again, a hijacking of the prior appropriation system. It's not working in Weld County. It's not going to work elsewhere until we actually manage the system appropriately. And we can do that. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, by the way. There's programs out there that do real-time management.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1271? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 71. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The bill passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1272.
House Bill 1272 by Representative Byrd, also Senators Winter and Priola, concerning housing authority participation in the Colorado New Energy Improvement District program.
Representative Byrd.
Madam Chair, I move House Bill 1272 on second reading.
To the bill.
Madam Chair and members, thank you all so much for taking time to hear about my bill, House Bill 1272, concerning Housing Authority ability to participate in the Colorado New Energy Improvement District program. This is a unique statewide program. Energy improvement districts are special districts into which any Colorado county can choose to opt into via a Board of County Commission resolution. If a county chooses to opt in, commercial building owners in that county are then eligible to apply to the district for lower cost financing, which can then be used to fund eligible improvements to their property, which improvements are intended to enhance their building's energy efficiency. These improvements include things such as better insulation, storm windows, doors, automatic energy controls, and HVAC improvements. CPACE financing is provided from private lenders who agree to be repaid from the proceeds derived through a voluntary assessment on the property. The funding source can be used to finance 100% of the cost of improvements to retrofit existing buildings, or between 15 to 20% of eligible construction costs for new buildings.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also move L001 and ask that it be displayed on the screen.
The amendment L001 is properly displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amendment L001 is a technical amendment that just makes clear that the C-PACE program can be used when housing authority properties are owned by partnerships. I ask for your aye vote on the bill as amended.
Is there any further Representative Rich on to the amendment? Is there any further discussion on amendment L001? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of amendment L001. All in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment is passed. To the bill, Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1272 as amended.
Is there any further discussion?
And ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1272? Representative Rich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm up here to oppose this bill. As a former county treasurer, let me tell you that this loan appears on your property tax statement, and it does not go away. It does cloud the tax lien sale procedure, and it is ripe for abuse. When there is a tax lien sale, all your loans go away. This does not. It goes with the property. And it could be on your tax liens, property tax lien or property tax statement for up to 20 years. I'm asking for a no vote on this bill.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is a voluntary program. Nobody gets this financing or has any assessment applied to their property unless they voluntarily opt into it. I'd like to add a further clarification that right now the C-PACE program is only open to commercial properties that make thoughtful decisions with their financial advisors and enter into these deals, and it would be the same with housing authority properties. This doesn't impact residential properties. This would not be on anybody's home. Nobody needs to be in fear that there's going to be some involuntary lien placed on your property that can be stuck there for any period of time. This is purely voluntary and would only be a tool in the tool chest for housing authorities and commercial properties as the law currently stands.
Representative Rich.
That's true. It is a, thank you, Madam Chair. That's true that it is a voluntary program, but it does appear on property tax statements. And if that property is sold, that lien goes with that property on, and no other, it doesn't happen in any other situation in a property tax statement. We're collecting, our treasurers would be collecting a bank loan, essentially, on your property tax statement. Please vote no.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I will just state again that the parties to these transactions are sophisticated entities that make these choices voluntarily. None of this is a surprise. And the fact that the lien travels with the property, that also is disclosed. So a person, if they didn't want to acquire a property that would have this special assessment on their deed of trust or on their a lien on this property, they just simply wouldn't buy the property. So there is no problem. I urge and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1272? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1272 as amended. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The bill passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 139.
Senate Bill 139 by Senators Corman, Moreno, Representatives Galindo, and Singer concerning the issuance of a Department of Revenue identification documents to people who are not lawfully present in Colorado on a permanent basis in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Galindo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 139.
To the bill. Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to serve with you.
It's a pleasure to serve with you.
Members, Senate Bill 139 is a bill that came out of the Senate on a bipartisan vote, came out of our 2 committees that heard this bill on a bipartisan vote. And before I say anything else, I want to thank Representative Arndt for her diligent work years ago with the agriculture community to bring folks like the dairy farmers and wheat growers to the table to understand what exactly is happening in our rural districts to ensure that they can get to work. This bill isn't just for my district, it is for all of Colorado. And it's very simple. If you work hard, if you learn the rules of the road, you pay your fees, and you get insurance, you can get a driver's license to drive on the road. This isn't just about immigration policy, it is about road safety, it's about community strength, and it's about workforce development. And with that, I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the bill? Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning again. I was a no vote in committee, and I'll tell you why. There are places for these people to get driver's licenses. I never did quite understand why we thought it was going to make it safer on the roads if you had more places to go to. For example, the driver's license office in Lamar, they're going to redo it anyway, whether they do this bill or not. So they didn't make it real clear. I just believe that we already have 3 places for them to go get driver's license at. I don't know if you all know that if you own a business here in Colorado, and that's a trucking business, and you've got to get to an office, you know where you have to go? Downtown Denver. So those from outer edges of Colorado that have businesses, that have employees, that pay taxes, they have one place to come to. It's a disservice to those people that are business owners, but they deal with it, and they take care of it, and they do their job. It doesn't make the driveways, the roads any less safe or more safe. My point is that I do not believe we need this. It's an unneeded benefit. We're welcoming more here. Yes, we need these workers for farm labor and that type of thing, but they have 3 offices. I believe it's nothing more than a growth in government, growth in what is going to work against us. This all costs money eventually, and it will cost us. So I believe it's an unneeded bill, and that's why I was a no vote, and I urge you to be a no vote. Thank you.
Representative Galindo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So to my colleague's point, this actually is an already existing program. And we're not the only state that implements this program or provides these kind of documentation to our undocumented residents. But we are one of the only states that have actually rolled this program back, causing lots of mayhem with people actually trying to apply for this particular program. And we're just trying to ensure that everyone has access. So all this bill does is expand this program to at least 10 offices statewide. And it's pretty simple, straightforward, and it will ensure that we are driving on safer roads. When you get a driver's license, you have to take a test. That test ensures that you can safely drive on our roads. You know the rules of the road. So that's all this bill is doing. I urge an aye vote.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, we heard that this is already an existing program, and I really don't think that we can say with a straight face that this bill is needed and necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety. So therefore, I move L004 and ask for it to be displayed.
Amendment L004 is properly displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, pretty simple amendment. Again, I don't think we should be abusing the safety clause in this building. We should actually use it and preserve it for things that are actually needed for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety. So I urge a yes vote on this amendment.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, this is a bill about safety. As a matter of fact, if you look at the bill title, it has the word safety in it. If you look at the short title, it has the word safety in it. If you actually go back and look at the states that have put this in place, whether you look at Democratic California or Republican Utah, you see more insured drivers on the road, you see less hit and run accidents. That is safety. You couldn't get more onto the issue of safety than with this bill. It's in the title, it's in the short title, and it's actually what this bill does, is it increases public safety. Anyone who's actually ever been hit by an uninsured driver knows the cost to not only yourself, but your family, your income. This bill isn't just for one population. This is for the entire state, and it is for the safety of our state.
Representative Humphrey.
Thank you. This amendment is a good amendment, and I think certainly this is a reasonable debate. The indignation over the amendment is probably a bit much. Certainly, drivers might flee a scene if they don't have insurance. That would make sense, but I don't see them because they don't have a license going out and trying to run into people and cause accidents. So I don't think that the safety clause is appropriate, and I rise in support of the amendment. Thank you.
Is there any Minority Leader Neville?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, again, this is not for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety. Obviously, the program already exists. This is an expansion of the program. It's not going to benefit immediately. The state's not going to fall apart without this bill. The state's got a major blizzard going on this afternoon, and guess what? This bill won't be in effect this afternoon, and the state's still going to be okay. We're all still going to be safe without this bill, so we don't need the safety clause on it. We keep abusing this in this chamber, and I urge a yes vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L004? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L004. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The noes have it. The amendment fails. Any further discussion on Senate Bill Representative Liston?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So, members, I rise in opposition to Senate Bill 139. The reason why is look at the extra expense. We're hiring 21.6 FTEs. We're spending almost $2 million extra. This is unneeded. We're institutionalizing this bureaucracy. Once we get it in, we'll never get rid of it. I do not support this. And as to the insurance, what's to say that when these illegals come in, that they get their driver's license? I'm really concerned that then they go to the clerk and recorder's office and they go, now I want to register to vote. I know there's supposedly supposed to be a code on the driver's license, but you know, one little tiny thing, they could easily go somewhere and get registered to vote. I don't support this at all. It's a bunch of BS.
Representative Melton.
Wow, talk about indignation. Thank you, Madam Chair. As the original sponsor of the program, let me first assure you that the license says not for federal use. So you can't use this to go and try to register to vote or for any other purpose other than driving. It doesn't allow you to get on an airplane. It doesn't even allow you to get into a federal building. So let's take that notion out of the equation. In terms of the amount of FTE and the amount that it will cost members, when we set this program up, it was self-sustaining. And if you look at your fiscal note, you'll see that it continues to be self-sustaining. This doesn't take one dime from the general fund. This is all cash funded, and it's funded by those that are paying into the program. So, this notion that, this is going to be a burden or it's the growth of government, members, this is a service that people are paying into in order to be able to drive legally on our roads. I don't know what is more responsible by the residents of Colorado than this program. If you can point out a program that is more responsible, I welcome it. But the arguments that I'm hearing don't stand. They don't have any validity. Now, when you're talking about undocumented residents, and I do take issue with the term illegals, members, we have always allowed for anyone to get a driver's license. This, again, is not a new concept. Okay, what happened, to give you a little bit of history here, what happened was after 9/11, the federal government said that if you're going to use a driver's license for federal purposes like getting on an airplane or something like that, you have to be Real ID compliant. However, if you have people who are not documented or don't have the documentations to meet that Real ID compliance, then you can create this separate type of driver's license. And you know the first state that actually did that? It was Utah. It was a Republican senator that brought that first driver's license. So this is really a bipartisan issue. To try to turn it into something around immigration and to use the term illegals is completely out of line. Members, I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Humphrey.
Thank you. Members, the bill summary says current law provides for the issuance of identification documents such as driver's licenses to people who are temporarily present or who are not lawfully present in Colorado. The bill requires the Department of Revenue to issue these documents at 10 more offices throughout the state. The key words being not lawfully present. For that reason, I didn't support the underlying bill, and I do not support this bill either, and I urge a no vote. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Baisley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this extends an embrace to those who are unlawfully present in the United States. If that means anything, then we should not officially give them documentation that is in conflict with that status of unlawfully present. This gets us to chaos, which is a really dangerous place for us to go as a government in law, to accept lawlessness, and that moves us into chaos, which really concerns me in a big way. So, to quote Abraham Lincoln, if bad laws exist, we should repeal them as soon as possible, but while they do exist, they should be religiously observed. If there is an issue with their lawful presence, if that is what is wrong, then let's change the law about their lawful presence. Let's not acknowledge and accept that they're going to continue to reside in the United States unlawfully. That is chaos. That is a dangerous place for us to go as a legislative body. So I urge a strong no vote to this bill.
Representative Benavidez.
Morning, members. I stand in strong support of this bill. You know, some of the comments I've heard, if this bill was to put in place the law to allow people that are unlawfully present to get licenses, some of those comments would be worth a discussion. But that's not what this bill is about. That law is already in place. This does not change that process at all. When that law, unfortunately, did take effect, it was one of those things we refer to as an unfunded mandate. We only put enough money there to do a portion of those licenses. But don't forget, the real reason that law ever passed is because it makes all of us safer. If people get a driver's license, they're able to get insurance. If they run into you, there's more likelihood you're going to be able to recover the damages you might incur. It's a benefit, and that's why the law passed. This law is just using cash funds, the people that would attempt to get a license would pay to have more offices opened in order to allow them to get licenses. You know, and I also wanted to mention, I strongly oppose the use of the term illegals. You know, if we're going to use terms about individuals, then we need to use the terms that are in the bill. It clearly states unlawfully present, which, again, the legislature passed a law to allow people that are unlawfully present to get licensed because it helps all of us. So I don't mind debate, but let's be clear what we're debating here. We're debating expansion of the offices. So please consider what you're voting on, and I urge a yes vote.
Representative Buck.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I ask for a no on this vote. This is nothing more than the growth of government on steroids. Please, when you look at the amount of monies that we're using, it's crazy. We don't need this, and I ask for a no. Thank you.
Representative Singh.
Thank you, Chair, and then Representative Benavides. I really appreciate you very much on a lot of your work down here, but I feel you are impugning us. We're not children. Not lawfully present also means illegal. So let's not play around with that. Not lawfully present equals illegal. So telling us we can't use certain words at this well is an abridgment of the First Amendment.
Representative Harrod.
Thank you. Just to be clear, and I don't think anyone means necessarily anything by this, so I want to be respectful for both sides. But the term illegal is very offensive to people. It's like calling someone colored or the N-word. That is how it feels to people. And so a lot of folks don't understand that. And I'm not saying that you're doing it on purpose. But as we heard last year from our first Latina speaker, Crisanta Duran, it is extremely offensive. So now that we know, if we could stick to the merits of the bill and maybe try to taper our language just a bit because of how it makes people feel. That's all I'm asking. I wouldn't expect anyone to call me words that I would tell you are offensive. And now that you know, maybe we can try to change our language to be respectful of people who are truly offended when this term is used to describe them. Thanks.
Representative Benavides.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to clarify, I have no problem if somebody is unlawfully present to say they're illegally present. I think that makes perfect sense, and I have no problems with that. But when you use illegal to be a noun and you refer to somebody as an illegal, that is the offensive part of that. Anybody that runs a red light is doing something that is against the law. That doesn't make them an illegal. That is not a noun that should be used because it is offensive, and I agree with my colleague. You may not think it's offensive, but I do. In my culture, it's an offensive word, and I will stand up and say that every time. And how you take it is not meant to be offensive to you, but is meant to show that I do take offense at that word when it's used as a noun. If it's used as an adverb or an adjective to say someone has illegally broken a law, I have no problems with that, but that is not how the term was used. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, back to the bill. Earlier we heard that these folks needed these licenses so they could get insurance. I just want to point out that back when I was an insurance agent, you could actually sell insurance policies to people who didn't have a driver's license. Yes, it's a higher premium, but yes, they can be covered. If since I've been in the business, maybe that's changed and maybe we've made that portion illegal, then maybe we should focus on changing that so they can obtain insurance instead of actually trying to expand this program and make it easier to get driver's licenses under the guise of they need that to get insurance, because my understanding is they don't.
So any further discussion on Senate Bill 139? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 139. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The bill passes. Mr. Randall, please read House Bill 1239.
House Bill 1239 by Representatives Tipper and Caravale, Senators Priola and Winter, concerning the promotion of an accurate count in the decennial census by creating a census outreach program.
Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1239. I also move the 2 committee reports.
To the appropriations report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, the appropriations, the initial appropriation of $12 million was cut in half to $6 million. So I would ask for a favorable vote on the Appropriations Committee report.
Representative Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I move Amendment L007 to the Appropriations Report and ask that it properly be displayed.
The amendment L007 is properly displayed. Please proceed, Representative Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I think this is a good amendment. What it simply does is it says that the federal government can do this job well enough. A better appropriation or better use for these funds would be towards school safety, and I encourage you to vote in support of L007.
Madam Chair, I ask for a title ruling.
We will be in a brief recess to do a title ruling on L007. The committee will come back to order. The chair rules that the amendment does not fit under the title. Representative Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Madam Chair, I respect the decision of your ruling. Thank you.
Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I actually move an amendment to the committee report as well. It's Amendment L009, and ask that it be displayed.
Representative, the amendment L009 is displayed. Representative Tipper, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment basically specifies that the dole is going to require 1.4 FTE, and the cost of that 1.4 FTE will come out of the total appropriation of $6 million.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L009? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L009. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. No. The amendment passes. Representative Tipper.
Thank you. I move the Appropriations Committee report as amended.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report on appropriations? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the appropriations report as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed, no. No. The committee report passes. Representative Tipper.
Madam Chair, I move the State Veteran and Military Affairs Committee report.
To the State Veterans and Military Affairs report. Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the State Affairs Committee, we added as hard-to-count communities the Southern Ute Indian Tribe and the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe. And then the Grant Committee, that was one amendment. And then the Grant Committee, we also wanted to specify that appointees are not to be members of the General Assembly. I ask for a favorable vote on on the House, good Lord, on the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the State Veterans and Military Affairs report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the State Veterans and Military Affairs report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The report passes. Representative Caraveo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the census is something that constitutionally we are supposed to do once every 10 years, and it has really profound effects, particularly on our state budget. About a third of our budget is determined by federal dollars. About $800 billion every year that the federal government parses out across the country are determined by census data. And so what the census says, basically, or what the data determines, is how much of that money, how big of a slice of the pie is going to come to Colorado. In 2016, that equated to $13 billion, or about $2,300 per person per year since the last census. An undercount would really have significant ramifications for our state budget. An undercount of about 1% would equate to $630 million over the next 3 years. And for those of us who are assuming that we're going to get an 8th congressional seat, a 1.3% undercount could cost us that additional district.
Representative Tipper.
I'll also add that when we talk about transportation funding, which is important, I think, to every single one of our districts, when we talk about healthcare funding, which again, important to every single one of our districts, the census enumeration draws down millions of dollars. In fiscal year 2016, half of that $13 billion was healthcare related money. So we'd ask for, you have an amendment to the bill? Yes. I'd ask that you call on Representative Caraveo.
Representative Caraveo.
We do have an amendment. I move L005 and ask that it be displayed.
Amendment L005 is properly displayed. Please proceed.
So what this does is by striking lines 12 and 13 on page 7, we will make sure that the funding or that the expenditures that DOLA brings on as part of enforcing this grant program will be covered by the $6 million that are already appropriated. We are also adding on that any money that is not expended by a foundation by the end of June 30th, 2020 will come back to DOLA if they did not spend it. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L005? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L005. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Representative Say. Right.
Thank you, Chair. Members, I'm going to ask it for a no vote on this bill. The reason why is, and there's actually several reasons why, but just very recently, the census got 1.13 billion more than what was requested in 2018. In fact, here's a quote. When I found about this yesterday, I almost fell out of my chair, said John Thompson, who resigned in May as the director of the Bureau amid controversy over funding. One thing that it says that they recognize the census is important on both sides of the aisle. They have got plenty of funding, folks. They have marketers, they've got recruiters, so when they go into these harder to count populations, they have posters in every language you can possibly imagine. They make sure they actually recruit people here in Colorado who know these areas, know how to count, and can reach these populations. So having a duplicative arm of the Census Bureau in Colorado is not only unnecessary, but that $12 million could be going to roads and bridges and funding other very important programs. I'm going to tell you the census has got more than enough money. They sure blew through enough of it 10 years ago, and they actually do a fairly good job of reaching these hard-to-count populations. So I would say this is unnecessary. The funding can be used somewhere else, and I urge a no vote.
Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The additional funding that's come in from the federal government is a reflection of how underfunded the census is this year, particularly compared to other years, and particularly given the changes moving towards electronic participation in the census is a first time. It's going to have really disproportionate effects on rural communities that don't have secure broadband access. I urge a yes vote on the bill.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I'm sorry, but I don't think census outreach gets us to the level of being in the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety. So I move L008 and ask for it to be displayed.
Amendment L008 is properly displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, members, this is just simply about this, the text of the bill is about census outreach. We can talk about how that might benefit us getting an additional congressional seat, but again, I don't think that's necessary for the immediate preservation of the public health and safety. So I urge a yes vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L008? Seeing Representative Tipper.
Ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L008? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L008. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The amendment fails. Representative Sain.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to just remind everybody again what I just read. Census advocates got an unexpected surprise when they got 1.3 trillion spending bill for the fiscal year 2018, including more funding for the Census Bureau than they had expected or even dreamed of asking for. This is in the Washington Post. It's a recent article. They got more than enough money. We don't need to duplicate services. Thank you.
Representative Van Winkle. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, the sponsor of this bill said that the federal government isn't actually paying enough for this. And given what we just heard from the representative from Loveland, that the federal government gave more money than anyone expected or even dreamed of to this program, then what is the right number? Is it the $12 million of the introduced version? Is it the $6 million in the current version? Or is it the billions and billions of dollars that the federal government is already paying towards it? Because it seems like there's tons of money flowing towards the same program and we're duplicating things. But if the federal government's not doing enough, then perhaps tell us what would be enough.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1239? Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I urge a no vote on this bill. As was mentioned before, the federal government is already doing this. They're already spending that money. We have a very finite amount of resources in the state. I just remember, just recently doing the long bill and going over discussions and trying to find just little bits and pieces of money for very special programs, and this bill will take away that ability for those programs to be funded because it's part of the overall pie. And so we have to decide in this chamber, do we prioritize things like this, or do we prioritize bigger things like roads and bridges? Things like this may seem like small dollars, but if you watch the pennies, the dollars take care of themselves. And so I think we need to, on bills like this, take a serious look at it and see the added benefits of it. I don't think this bill meets that standard, so I urge a no vote.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is a bill that we heard in committee, and it wasn't something that I could ultimately support. And there are some concerns that I have regarding potential activities that aren't quite related to the bill, or related to the policy of outreach and census. And so with that, members, I move Amendment L010 and ask that it be displayed.
Amendment L010 is displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you. Members, what this amendment would do is it would ensure that the money that is being spent would be spent within organizations that are based here in Colorado that only have Colorado interests in mind. So these organizations that would be eligible would not have any sort of ties with organizations outside of our state, because we are, I think, rightfully concerned. I know citizens of Colorado are rightfully concerned with outside influences having undue influence on how we craft public policy and how we ultimately make our lives better here in Colorado, especially as it relates to something so important as the census. I think this is a very measured amendment that will ensure that only Colorado nonprofits and organizations can be eligible to receive these funds for this outreach program. So I'd urge a yes vote on this.
Representative Caraveo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This outreach program is about Colorado. It's about people who have ties in Colorado looking at Colorado communities and deciding how best to reach those communities that are hard to count. We have a broad stake of supporters, including the Farm Bureau, CCI, CML, people who know Colorado well, and we don't want to hamstring efforts because they may or may not have ties outside of the state in addition to knowing Colorado well. We ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The problem is, though, members, is if we don't confine this, we don't put guardrails in place for strictly Colorado organizations, then we very well may get into situations where this money is spent for things that aren't necessarily for census outreach. There could be a number of political or other reasons for these organizations to be doing what they're doing, and I think if we have something that's confined strictly to Colorado organizations who really care about ensuring that we have a proper count and nothing more, then I think we're going to be in safe territory. So I would urge a yes vote. We don't want any undue influences from external actors coming into our state and trying to upend a number of things, especially as it relates to census outreach. So please vote yes.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I'm going to ask for a no vote, mainly because I think that this may have some unintended consequences, especially in some of our remote and rural areas. And I want to make sure that those areas are served. Unfortunately, if we limit the organizations that can serve some of those remote and rural areas, then there may be a chance that people in those areas may not be counted in the census and therefore be deprived of some of the services that they need. So let's not have a war on rural Colorado. Let's keep this open, and I ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only war on rural Colorado would come from outside organizations, big city interests, if you will, outside of our state, primarily based in potentially New York or California, some of those more urban areas. And so what this would do is actually allow people within our state to come together who are solely concerned about our state and ensure that this money is being spent properly in-house. We don't need outside organizations coming in and telling us how we should operate or how we should do things. That's not the Colorado way, and I know that the citizens, our constituents, would probably agree with that. And so I think, again, members, during testimony, we had a list of many organizations, many of whom are based here in Colorado, which is great, right? But there are others that have ties to outside organizations and causes, and I think it's problematic if we start dishing out money to those organizations. So I would simply ask that we keep it in-house and we prevent outside undue influence coming in and potentially doing harm to what we're trying to do here. So please vote yes.
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to ask the sponsors of the bill on the people that they're trying to reach, what they might mean when you say hard to reach or hard to count. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Representative, listen to the Amendment 10. Is that to the amendment?
No, I'm not asking about this amendment. I'll wait.
Okay, thank you.
Never mind. I'll hold my post amendment till later.
Thank you, Representative Liston. Any discussion on Amendment 10? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment 10. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment fails. To the bill, Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hard-to-count communities is actually defined, it's illustrative, but children 0 to 5 years old are some of the hardest to count across the state. Elderly population, 60 and over, particularly because we're moving towards census or online participation in the census. Rural communities, I left sheets on every single one of your desks. Rural counties have the highest percentage of hard-to-count communities, so all of rural Colorado is hard to count. People with disabilities, renters, people that have housing affordability issues, American Indians, Ute Mountain Ute, Alaska Natives, communities of color, minorities. So some are very vulnerable communities, others are transient communities, and others just by their geography, just by their location, or perhaps their distrust of the federal government, are hard to count communities. This is apolitical. It actually benefits red districts. It is money in the door for districts.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Humphrey.
Thank you. So members, I keep hearing references to the hard-to-count populations and that sort of thing, and we're hearing that they are particularly located in rural Colorado. So I'm just curious if the bill sponsors would indulge me, expand a little bit on what populations are we talking about and what it takes to reach those populations. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1239? Representative Saint.
Thank you, Chair. And again, I'm going to rise in opposition to this bill because, again, there's people that are hired specifically in the states where the census is being conducted. In fact, there's layers and layers and layers of operations. And they will often hire those same people who can speak that same language, look like the people in those communities, regardless of where they are, the hard to reach, hard to count. They actually do a fairly good job at this. If there's one arm of the federal government that does an excellent job as far as groundwork goes, it is the Census Bureau. So I would say, again, they got more money than they even dreamed of. I'll say it again, more money than they could have possibly imagined to be able to do this. And as mentioned earlier in a conversation, if we really are moving to an online response, so a numerator doesn't have to come to the door, that should also reduce costs. So again, this is a duplicative effort.
Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in opposition to the bill, and I'm going to tell you why. As a stay-home mother of 6 children, there were a lot of years that I did part-time work for the Census Bureau. I traveled the parts of that rural area that they're talking about where the people don't trust the government at all. But we wanted to make sure we had a good count for our counties in southeast Colorado, so we worked very hard. This bill is unneeded. It's just more of the same that we've heard over and over and over again this legislative session. We don't need this. The Census Bureau does a good job, and those people that are hired, they do a good job because they have concern for their areas, for their communities, for their counties. We wanted to make sure we had a good count. And yes, there were a lot of people that don't want you bugging them. They don't want to be counted in. But if they know you're a local person that lives and pays taxes in that county, they will give you the information. You don't need all their information. You just need to know how many people live there, whether they're male or female, and that's about it. But that's the census. They don't need all that other information. And when they'd ask me, I said, no, they don't really need that. But they do need to have a count so we know how many residents we have in this county so that the monies can come, federal money, state monies, to our county. Well, when they heard that, they were willing to cooperate. But I live where they don't trust the government. I'll guarantee it. They'll show up there with the shotgun in hand, ready to go. So this is just another bill that's unneeded. I impress upon you, just vote no. Thank you.
Representative Hansen.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And members, I wanted to add a little bit of a budget angle to this. As we are heading into the final days of the JBC process, we're going to be meeting as a conference committee on your behalf very shortly. And this bill is so directly related to that work. About a third of the state budget, about a third of our $30+ billion is federal grants and federal transfers. So 10 billion with a B, about a third of our budget. And if we don't get the census done correctly, we lose a tremendous amount of money. You've already heard in this debate, it's about $20,000 per head over the 10-year period. It is absolutely critical for our budget that we get this right. And like the previous speaker, I've got a census worker in my family. My father traveled the back roads of western Kansas counting people in the last census. He's planning to do it again this time. It's incredibly important work. And in talking to him, it was clear that many parts of it worked well, but there were parts of the county that he struggled to get an accurate count. And the county government, the local government, the state government suffers if we don't get this right. And it's absolutely imperative for Colorado to do everything we can to get the very best count that we can. Otherwise, it will have significant budgetary impacts for the next 10 years. So I urge your support of this important effort.
Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to my colleague from the East, House District 64, your counties had some of the highest percentages of undercount in 2010. 45% Baca County, 25% Bent, 37%. This means 37% of those counties were not counted in 2010. So for your counties, $390 million to $605 million a year in missed federal funds. And so the question is, do we do what we did 10 years ago that we know resulted in an undercount, or do we make a modest investment and reap tremendous federal dollars in return?
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members, well, it's interesting to hear our good member from the JBC talk about how important the census is, and in the rural counties and the money that is to be used so we can get out in the rural counties and probably all over to make sure that the count is done. And you know, there's immense responsibility that is placed on these census employees to go out and do the job correctly. These census employees, I think Representative Lewis was saying, they're really putting themselves in harm's way. They're going out into unique situations, areas that they're not familiar with, and you know, at great jeopardy, probably different times of the night. And so with that, I would like to offer Amendment L011, that the census employees be post-certified. Because the census workers, really the census workers, they are putting themselves in harm's way each and every day. And we have the money, we have $6 million extra to take care of these good census workers, and we can kill two birds with one stone. They can be properly compensated, and they can be post-certified as well, that they can help the sheriffs in these rural counties. So with that, I ask for an aye vote on L011.
Is there any, Representative Tipper, is there any further discussion on Representative Liston's traditional signature amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do admire your tenacity. We could all learn from it. I ask that it either be withdrawn or that we do a title ruling.
Title ruling has been called on Representative Liston's signature amendment. Representative Liston.
I will spare the humiliation of an adverse title ruling, so I will withdraw the amendment.
All right, Amendment L011 is withdrawn. Representative Sane.
Hey, Chair, I got a question for the sponsor. She had mentioned that there was 25% of people weren't counted in, say, Baca County. How do we know those people exist? How do we get the information that 25% weren't counted?
Is there any further, Representative Tipper?
Thank you. It is based on DOLA's continuing efforts. In other words, they map out every household in the counties. So they see the response rates from the census, and they know that the percentages of households, because they map out every single household that weren't counted, and that's the basis for the numbers.
Representative Sain.
Chair, I'm still confused, though, because every enumerator takes an oath of office that they are supposed to do their job to the best of their ability. So if they didn't count those people for some reason, something's very wrong with that. I disagree that there's some vacation spots where people don't live full-time, but I just don't understand why there would be an undercount that's that great in certain counties.
Representative Tipper.
Appreciate the concern. Just real quick. So the census is based on response rates, right? So initially, we're going to have requests to participate in the census online. The folks that don't participate in the census online will then be reached by enumerators. In years past, we have moved to the enumeration stage faster than we will this year because we're relying on individuals participating online. In rural communities, P.O. boxes, you will not get the notices anymore regarding the P.O. boxes. So again, rural communities are going to get hit even harder by this.
Representative Lewis. Representative Humphrey.
Thank you. And in that vein, members, I think it's important to realize that these numbers are speculative in nature. I think it's important to realize, to know what we don't know and acknowledge that. What we do know from the bill certainly is that there's a large amount of money that's going to be funneled to groups that are going to be doing this work. And I think it's important to follow the money trail on a bill like this. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I come back down here because I guess Baca County, is the very farthest southeast corner county of Colorado. My sister Kathy lives there, her and her late husband. Many, many years. She still teaches at Springfield High School. Representative Wes McKinley lives just about as far as you can live without crossing the river there and being in Oklahoma. And when you go down there to the very southeast corner of Baca County, you realize it is a very vast rural area, but no harder to get census counts out of, though, than the western part of Los Animas County and the areas where I live that are really considered rural. What I think is interesting is the fact that when we argue here at the well and we're fight for something rural, it takes all of us rural legislators to get up here and we do our best because we stand up for rural Colorado. And usually we're the underdogs, and we still are, most of us on this side of the aisle anyway. But when we need to get something through, we fight for rural Colorado. It's interesting to me with this bill, they're using rural as a way to try to get it through. Whenever, if you go down one of those county roads over there in Baca County, which they have very good county roads, they do a great job. You can ask a neighbor, what about that house over there? Do you know? I mean, these people know how to get those numbers. These people know how to find out how many people live in those areas. I just find it interesting that when they need to get a bill through, they'll use rural. But most of the time, those of us from rural are fighting for our rural values. And this is just still an unneeded bill. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Sain.
Thank you, Chair. I stridently disagree with those figures that were given earlier, which is probably another reason to double down and vote no on this bill. To second guess all those operations that millions and millions of dollars were spent on identifying where people live or could live, even if that's a tree house, and that is done, and to circle back around and say, we think the census is wrong, so we need more money. I very much disagree with that. Again, enumerators do take an oath of office. They swear to uphold the Constitution. One of the most important things about the census is, of course, the head count. Now, some people have argued it's just a little lesson here off to the side, but if you want to change the questions that are asked on the decennial census, by the way, ask your congressmen. They're the ones who put forth the questions. But the most important part, of course, is head count, because that has to do with reapportionment that we do every 10 years for Congress. So this is of the utmost importance that we understand this, that if for some reason we're missing that many people, when we have people on the ground identifying every place somebody could live or does live, we may have a huge difference in opinion between some of these counties and between some of the things that people actually who live in the county are traveling and doing some of this enumeration. I think they would be maybe taken aback a little bit by saying that they didn't do their jobs correctly, because they could be they've taken an oath. So again, they tend to hire local folks who do the job to the best of their ability. Some of these folks ride horses to go in these backcountry places. They have not snow plows, but what's that other, snowmobile? A little tired today. They have snowmobiles if they have to travel on snowpack. They'll hike. They'll do whatever they can to identify those places where people live and to count them. So again, I would say please vote no on this particular bill.
Is there any further discussion on the bill? Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I come down here today, I want to talk about, it seems to me the state of Colorado is going to go out and count the people that are going to get counted. I'm not sure the purposes of that. In my counties, I saw some numbers and I didn't agree with those numbers. They weren't what I would consider right. This seems to me to be something that we don't need to be doing in the state of Colorado, honestly. I think that the census will take care of the numbers that we're looking for. There are some people that don't want to be counted, flat don't want to be counted, and that's their business. I don't think that we can root out the people that don't want to be counted, and I don't think that we should be estimating the number of people who were not counted. In my opinion, this bill is something that I'm not sure the purpose of it. I'm not sure the data that's going to be used, where it will be used, who will use it. I believe in the census because that's what I believe in it. That's all I want you to know. I would urge a no vote on this bill.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do, out of the greatest respect, want to stand up for my kind of rule in House District 61 and those counties that I represent and talk about the true need we have for resources and being able to train and facilitate the census count in the right way. I was a part of the 2010 local community effort just to raise awareness, make sure that we brought the right kind of attention and spotlight to the importance of the census in my community, and it was a lot of work. It was a great deal of work. Had we had the resources that this bill will be bringing forward, I know we could have done a better job. It is not a commentary on the individuals out there doing the counting. It is a comment on what it takes to be able to really throw that net wide and broad, make sure that we are capturing every single one of our community members and being sure that they are a part of that head count. I strongly urge a yes vote for this bill. Thank you.
Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment L012 and ask that it be displayed. And I want to first thank the taxpayers of Colorado. Thank you. I think
Amendment 12 is properly displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And because this is something that is somewhat duplicative, I think it's appropriate to thank the taxpayers and to understand that I don't think it's necessary, but there needs to be a lot of accountability because there'll be a lot of people in your neighborhood, duplicative, doing a lot of things this summer. There'll be some people campaigning and getting data, and you'll have census from the federal government, and you'll have information here, but there is a very broad accountability here, but I do think that we need to tighten in the accountability so that the taxpayers understand that the tax dollars that are coming into Colorado that is already covering the census very generously, how many people, how much outreach is actually done, the number of people hired with the grant money, the locations served by those people. I know we're going to get reports back on what entities get this money. Hopefully they'll be local, but we should know what money is being paid for by the federal government outreach and what money people are working through the grants, through the state dollars, the amount of grant money used for payroll expenses, the average wage paid, because I know that there's a real concern about how much we pay people in Colorado through this grant program. The additional accountability is important, even though I think this is going to be a very split vote, and I am not supporting this bill because I think it's duplicative. In a time when Colorado has roads and infrastructure that is crumbling, I don't see a need to do this. When the federal government is so generously funding this year, if we can get this additional accountability, I do believe that it would help us understand where our dollars went to and the impact that they had. So I'd ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Representative Caraballo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While we do not agree that the efforts are duplicative, because the reason that the federal government is now devoting so much money to the census is it realized that it has messed up with the online system. It has outspent its budget, brought it too late, and not tested it. So while we don't agree that things are duplicative, we're actually okay with this amendment, and we urge a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L012. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment fails. To the bill, is there any further discussion? Representative Lewis. Oh, you did? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm back up here, still talking about the bill, still talking about, I'm glad that Representative Beckman reminded me how much money the federal government's thrown to this, even more. I find it interesting that in our argument today, though, we talk about how the federal government figured out they messed up. Now, how many times have you heard that? So anyway, with that, Madam Chair, I would like for you to, I move amendment number L013 and ask for it to be displayed.
All right, amendment L013 is properly displayed. Representative Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I believe that one of the reasons why we're making such a big issue here, we would like to count all kinds of people in Colorado. We would like to get those voters. We would like to make sure those numbers are there. I think that the real census count should be the real people that are there, the people that are in those homes, the people that are citizens of the United States. So therefore, I add the amendment, the number of hard-to-count individuals contacted using the grant money who are undocumented or non-citizens. We need those hard-to-count people. I agree, totally. But I don't agree that we need to throw more money at it whenever, as Representative Beckman said, our infrastructure on our roads, you go on a road you can't hardly get past or up to go try to get a census count. It's pretty ridiculous. So I agree with Representative Beckman. I urge an aye vote on the amendment.
Representative Saint.
Thank you. I just want to read something on page 3 of this bill. It says a precise count is vital to guaranteeing each state receives the appropriate number of seats in the United States House of Representatives. It influences how states draw their legislative districts. So I just want to make sure this bill, if apparently this may go through, we probably don't have the votes to stop it, but if it does, let's just make sure that we're holding true to what the census is trying to do, and that is to account to hard-reach populations, but we do want to make sure we are counting citizens for the purpose of drawing these legislative districts.
Representative Carvalho.
We urge a no vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L013? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L013. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The amendment fails. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1239? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1239. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The bill passes. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
You've heard the motion. The committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your committee whole big sleep report is under its consideration. Probably touch best and the recommendations thereon. House Bill 1239 is amended. House Bill 1271 is amended. House Bill 1272 is amended. Passed through your gross place counter for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 139 is passed through your revised place counter for third reading and final passage.
Representative Titone. Where is she? Representative, you left your phone up here, just FYI. Thank you. You have heard the motion. There are, I think, 3 amendments. Mr. Randall, please read the Williams amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Representative Williams moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Williams amendment, L010 to House Bill 1239 to show sudden pass the House Bill 1239 is amended passed.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the Williams amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Members, what this amendment would do is it would ensure that, with respect to that census bill that we were just listening to right now, that it would ensure that only Colorado organizations would be recipients of this grant money. And the reason we want to do that is we want to prohibit any outside organizations from bringing about any sort of undue influence on how we conduct our business here in Colorado. I think that's absolutely appropriate. We've seen a number of debates surrounding that very issue of outside influences, and I think this is something that is proper and it puts the right amount of guardrails on this legislation. So I would ask for a yes vote on it.
Representative Carvalho.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We discussed this during seconds. We urge a no vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is Representative Williams' amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Randall, please open the machine and members please vote. Please close the machine. With 24 aye votes, 39 no votes, and 2 excused, the Williams amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole is lost. Mr. Randall, please read the Beckman amendment.
Representative Beckman moved to amend the report of the committee of the whole to reverse the action taken by the committee and not adopting the following Beckman Amendment L012 to House Bill 1239 shall send and pass. The House Bill 1239 has been passed.
Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, I just am really concerned that that this grant money will be used for political campaign or special interest purpose. And so this might be a way to track a little bit closer that this money won't be utilized for political campaign or special interest purpose, and the data won't be shared with other special interest groups, because that is a real concern that data would be shared. And so I would like to move the Beckman Amendment, and I ask for an aye vote. I move the Beckman Amendment to the Committee of the Whole.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Caraveo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are okay with this level of transparency. Please vote yes on this amendment. Yes.
The question before, is there any further discussion? The question before us is the Beckman Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Patrick, you don't even, do you know where the green button is? It's right next to the red button. Valdez A. Please close the machine. With 63 aye votes and 2 excused, the Beckman Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the Sane Amendment.
Representative Sane moved to amend the report of the committee to hold reverse the action taken by the committee not adopting and following Lewis and Sane Amendment L013 House Bill 1239 so the sudden pass. The House Bill 1239 has been passed.
Representative Sane.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As we talked about earlier, you have to ask your congressman to change the questions on the decennial census if you'd like to see something different. So therefore, an enumerator can only ask the questions that is determined by Congress. So for example, if you want the only question to be how many people are in this household, then you got to ask your congressman. As such, if this program goes through, we can do things that the federal government cannot do. And one of those questions we should be asking, especially if we're keeping true to the purpose of the bill, to make sure that we are honoring how legislative districts are drawn, we should make sure that we are asking about undocumented or non-citizens in that count.
Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, I'm on this amendment as well. As part-time worker before with the Census Bureau, actually several different years. I'm trying to think how many years I did that, but I believe that it's important that we go get a real count of the hard-to-count individuals. We kept talking about that in Baca and Los Animas counties, which are 2 of my 9 counties. And so I support this amendment, and I urge an aye vote.
Representative Caraveo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The program is really just about outreach to make sure we count all Coloradans. We're not changing the census. We urge a no vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the Sane Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Please close the machine. With 27 aye votes, 36 no votes, and 2 excused, the Sane Amendment is lost. There are no more amendments at the desk. The question before us is the passage of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Marilyn. calendar in my office, Ann, sorry. Thank you. Tipper and Duran. Please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 23 no votes, and 2 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions.
Seeing no objection, the House will proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Resolution 1005.
House Resolution 1005 by Representatives Lewis and Pelton concerning giving consumers notice of cell-cultured meat products.
Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would move House Resolution HR 19-1005.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I've been working on this. It was a bill for a while. I had a lot of support, was getting a little bit of resistance, so it suggested me to run a resolution to send to the USDA and the FDA to work on rules, get them in place before the product actually hits. So I would urge an aye vote on this resolution.
Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And yes, I was on the bill as well. Actually, when I got here, the first few days of when we came back for session, I realized I was writing a bill, Pelton was writing a bill, sitting together there where we figured out we had the same bill. So we decided to join forces, and it is so important for all of us that do want to know what we actually eat, that it's important to know what's in that label and what's there. So as cattle producers, as Representative Pelton and I, we support this amendment, and we want the State House here to agree. We kind of understood that if we pull the bill and make it into an amendment, we'd have a chance at least getting exposure out there as to the differences in what's real food and what isn't. So anyway, I support the amendment, and I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, this is a great opportunity for some real compromise here. We're all looking at this and saying, FDA, catch up with the technology. Make sure that the consumers are aware of what they're eating. That is what this resolution does. This bill came to my committee, and we weren't ready for a bill, but we said, you know, if you work with us, we'll work with you. And this is a great olive branch to make sure that we can do something that sends a clear message from our General Assembly, along with General Assemblies from across the country that are saying, FDA, move with all due diligence so consumers know exactly what it is that they're buying. This is a great transparency resolution, and I strongly support it.
Representative Caraveo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise in support of this. My dad was a cattle rancher growing up. My brother is a cattle rancher in Elbert, and I was actually supportive of the bill as well. Very important that we give people information on what they are eating, and that we protect a really integral part of the economy in Colorado. And so I'm very supportive of this.
Representative Mullica.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to take the opportunity to really thank Representative Lewis and Representative Pelton for putting so much work into this issue and seeing the passion that you have. I think that the information that you're trying to get out is great, and I think it's going to be great for Colorado, and I think it's going to be great for the industry that both of you participate in. And I'm fully supportive of this bill, and I ask for an aye vote, and thank you again for bringing it.
Is there any further discussion? Are we doing a voice vote on this? Okay, all those in favor of House Resolution 1005 say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. House Resolution 1005 is passed. Representative Pelton.
Madam Speaker, I would move to add the current roll call as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call is added as co-sponsors to House Resolution 1005. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1012. Oh, Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to labor House Joint Resolution 1012 till Friday, April 12th.
Seeing no objection, House Joint Resolution 1012 will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1013.
House Joint Resolution 1013 by Representative Wilson concerning the designation of Colorado State Highway 24 between mile markers 209 and 212 on each end of the town of Buena Vista, Colorado as the Corporal Ernest Clifford Sexton Memorial Highway.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I know that we do have several resolutions that are read throughout the year and throughout the time that I've been here about some of our fallen heroes, and we always say that we will never forget. This resolution will make sure that we don't forget, because this is a resolution for a World War I hero who has such a neat story that I move House Joint Resolution 1013 and ask that it be read at length.
Whereas, on November 11th of 2018 was the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, and whereas March 15th, 2019 is the 100th anniversary of the creation of the American Legion, and whereas American Legion Post 55 in Buena Vista, Colorado is named in honor of World War I veteran Corporal Ernest Clifford Sexton, and whereas Corporal Sexton was born in 1889 and came to Buena Vista at the age of 10, and whereas when he was old enough, Corporal Sexton worked in the mines and played baseball in Buena Vista and was the town's pitcher and baseball idol. And whereas Corporal Sexton was invited to try out for the Chicago White Sox, but World War I began, and Corporal Sexton chose instead to enlist in the United States Army. And whereas Corporal Sexton is a member of the H Company, 355th Infantry, had volunteered to help destroy an enemy machine gun nest around the Meuse River near Stenay, France. And whereas, while on the mission, Corporal Sexton was killed in action on November 9th, 1918, 2 days before the armistice on November 11th of 1918. And whereas Corporal Sexton and his family are buried in Mount Olivet Cemetery in Buena Vista, and whereas Corporal Sexton's funeral was one of only 2 times in the history of Buena Vista that every business shut down, and whereas Corporal Sexton is a war hero who gave his life for his country and should be remembered in Buena Vista, now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 72nd General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that the portion of Colorado State Highway 24 between mile markers 209 and 212 on each end of the town of Buena Vista, Colorado, be designated as the Corporal Ernest Clifford Sexton Memorial Highway, and that the Colorado Department of Transportation may accept and expend gifts, grants, and donations for the purpose of the initial placement of signs at mile markers 209 and 212 of Colorado State Highway 24 for the Corporal Ernest Clifford Sexton Memorial Highway, and that the Colorado Department of Transportation may explore a cooperative agreement with the Board of County Commissioners of Chaffee County for the maintenance of the markings for the Corporal Ernest Clifford Sexton Memorial Highway.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and members, please feel free to be seated. I just wanted to do this resolution because freedom is never free. Never. And it's never, never to be taken for granted. Each and every day we have people that place themselves in harm's way so that we can do what we do here today on this floor. So not only did people put their lives on the line today, yesterday, World War II, World War I, Vietnam, Afghanistan, wherever it may be, clear back to our founding fathers, blood has been the price that's been paid that we can do what we do here today. So I would ask for your support of this resolution.
Is there any further discussion on House Joint Resolution 1013? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. House Joint Resolution 1013 is passed. Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would ask that the current roll be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors to House Joint Resolution 1013. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 008.
Senate Joint Resolution 8 by Senator Lundeen, also Representative Carver, concerning the recognition of the 35th Space Symposium and celebrating the premier international space policy and program forum.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 19-008, and I do have an amendment.
And are you asking that it be read, or are you just going to discuss it
Madam
now?
Speaker, in the interest of time, the Senate provided last Friday a full consideration with very distinguished guests, Ron Stiegel, other NASA astronauts, and international leaders in space last Friday. And so, given the committees upon adjournment, we will waive reading of the resolution, but do move the resolution and do have an amendment.
Do you want to move your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move L001 and ask it be displayed.
The amendment is properly moved. Please proceed, Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is just a technical change to correct and update the distribution of the resolution, and I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 008. Oh, I'm sorry. The question before us is L001. Is there any? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. L001 is passed. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As you may be aware, the Space Foundation is located in Colorado Springs. This is the national organization for aerospace matters. And for many years, they have held an annual symposium in Colorado Springs, which is the premier international event for discussing space issues, whether it is space debris, whether it is satellite communications. The committee, UN Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, many, many international issues are discussed, and that has been held this past week.
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I rise in support of this resolution for the Space Foundation. You know, many of us in the room, some of us are old enough to remember the early days of the space program, dating back to the Mercury program, when the first man was just launched into space, and how it was televised with Gemini and Apollo, and I can still remember staying up and watching the first man stepping on the moon, Neil Armstrong. And so many of us have always been fascinated by the space program, and certainly Colorado Springs and really all of Colorado has been blessed by our state playing such a integral part in the space program. And I can remember, like a number of my colleagues, when the Space Foundation decided to start the symposium in Colorado Springs, there were only a couple hundred people who showed up. And today now it's grown, I think something like 10,000 people attend the symposium. And Colorado benefits from this so much, all of the great companies that we see. I know they're here sometimes, like United Launch Alliance, Boeing, Lockheed, and so many other great companies that employ so many people, not only in Colorado, but around the United States. And certainly last but not least, the old adage, freedom is not free. And so many of these companies and the United States Air Force and the military that keep our country free and prosperous. So we're proud to be a sponsor of this great resolution for the Space Symposium. So thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do support this 100%, but I also wanted to just mention that if I know you'll get the opportunity A few years ago, my daughter and I were able to go back to Florida, and we saw a space launch, which, of course, the concept, you know, is embroiled in what we're talking about here. We saw the Maven launch a vehicle that's going to Mars. In fact, it may have arrived there already because it's been a few years. When you get the opportunity, and you will get the opportunity to go, take it. It is one of the most remarkable experiences because these organizations will educate you, you'll have tours, you'll just learn and meet the most amazing people. And when that, in fact, I talked to the astronaut who was here the other day, and I told him it's just exactly like you think it would be. And he said, it is, it is. So when you get that opportunity, and you will, take it, go, and enjoy it.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 008. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate Joint Resolution 008 is passed. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 008. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 007.
Senate Joint Resolution 7 by Senator Moreno, also Representative Kraft-Tharp, concerning designation of the first full week of May as Tardive Dyskinesia Awareness Week.
Oh, you can sit.
Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Okay. She just recognized you. Do it. What am I doing? Asking that to be read. Oh, she recognized you already. Can I request that it be read at length?
Sure.
Thank you.
Whereas many people with serious chronic mental illness, such as schizophrenia and other schizoaffective disorders, bipolar disorder, or severe depression, require treatment with medications that work as dopamine receptor blocking agents, DRBAs, including antipsychotics. And whereas, while ongoing treatment with these medications can be very helpful and even life-saving, for many people, it can lead to tardive dyskinesia, TD. And whereas many people who have gastrointestinal disorders, including gastroparesis, nausea, and vomiting, also require treatment with DRBAs. And whereas treatment of gastrointestinal disorders with DRBAs can be very helpful, but for many patients can lead to DA. And whereas TD is a movement disorder that is characterized by random, involuntary, and uncontrolled movements of different muscles in the face, trunk, and extremities. And whereas, in some cases, people with TD experience involuntary and uncontrolled movement of the arms, legs, fingers, toes, tongue, lips, or jaw, swaying movements of the trunk or hips, or impacts to the muscles associated with walking, speech, eating, and breathing. And whereas TD can develop months, years, or decades after a person starts taking DRBAs, and even after the person has discontinued use of such medications. And whereas not everyone who takes a DRBA develops TD, but if TD develops, it is often permanent. And whereas common risk factors for TD include advanced age, alcoholism, substance abuse disorders, being postmenopausal, and mood disorders, and whereas a person is at higher risk for TD after taking DRBAs for 3 months or longer, and the longer a person takes DRBAs, the higher the risk of developing TD, and whereas studies suggest that the overall risk of developing TD following prolonged exposure to DRBAs is between 10 and 30%. And whereas it is estimated that approximately 500,000 individuals in the United States suffer from TD.
Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Thank you. Mental Health Awareness Month is the month of May, and this resolution declares the first week of May to be TD week. Tardive dyskinesia is relatively unknown and often mistaken for other disorders that might have similar symptoms. We as legislators and citizens continue to work to lessen the stigma around mental illness and want to ensure that people are getting the medication and help they need. Once care is established, we want to provide information about the importance of patients staying on their treatment plans.
Representative Michelson Janae, and could someone actually move the
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 007.
Please proceed.
We want to encourage patients to stay informed and communicate with their healthcare providers about tardive dyskinesia. We don't want TD to ever be a reason why someone would not take their medications. And with that, I ask that we declare the first week of May Tardive Dyskinesia Week, recognizing our fellow Coloradans who not only are facing mental illness, but also this movement disorder.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 007. Representative Kraft-Thart.
Thank you. I ask the morning roll call be added on as co-sponsors.
We need to move the, I need to ask for approval of the motion.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. House or Senate Joint Resolution 007 is passed. Representative Kraft-Thart.
Thank you. I ask that the morning roll call be added on as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar till tomorrow, Thursday, April 11th.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over till tomorrow, Thursday, April 11th. Announcements and introductions. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Transportation Local Government, we will be meeting at 1:30 today, moving as quickly as we can, but ironically, among other things, we need to talk about snowplow formations. We will be hearing House Bill 1295, House Bill 1265, House Bill 1281, and House Bill 1309. Thank you.
Representative Kraft-Thart.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Business Affairs and Labor Committee will be meeting at 1:30 also, and we will be scurrying along before the storm hits. We will be hearing 3 bills this morning, and I don't have the numbers, but they're really good bills. Come watch.
Do you want me to say them? They are House Bill 1314, Senate Bill 86, and Senate Bill 99. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
Okay, Representative Lontine.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and all the members of the Health and Insurance Committee and those of you who have been following House Bill 1312. Due to the weather and the fact that this will not be a short hearing, but a very lengthy one due to the level of interest, the decision has been made not to have the hearing today so that we don't have anybody on the roads traveling to get here and to go home after we finish hearing it. And for safety's sake, we will be rescheduling the bill to Monday afternoon. Thank you.
I have one announcement. Representative Soper will substitute for Representative McKean on business today only. Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Those of you who are interested, the Joint Budget Committee will be meeting at 1:30 today. Thank you.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Public Health Care and Human Services Committee, we will be meeting at 11:47 in the House Committee basement to hear 2 committee hearings. See, now you're listening. So 11:47, we'll see you in the House Committee room, and we'll be hearing 2 bills that are on your calendars. See you then.
Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, if you don't have lunch plans tomorrow, the Public Investment Caucus is meeting. We'll have a speaker giving us a deep dive on severance taxes in Colorado. Let me know if you plan to attend and if you'd like a lunch.
Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you, Representative Catlin.
Thank you. Members, I came down here and was so wound up about what dances I was going to do, I forgot to tell you that it is canceled tonight. Okay? But I also wanted to give some credit where credit is due. I told a member of the body that I was going to announce that we were going to cancel. And him being a very humorous man suggested, why don't you do the moonwalk? And you know, I've never done that before, so I thought, okay, yeah, I'll try it. Well, I want you to know that the sponsor of that moonwalk was Representative Jim Wilson. You might want to thank him for that, because I thank him. And some of you have asked me how you do it. Well, you just start like this.
Woo, fantastic. Thank you for the entertainment, Representative Catlin, and for the dance lesson. Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm so disappointed that Representative Catlin. I think I'm going to go by myself tonight.
Are you going to show us a dance move, Representative Arndt?
You'll have to wait for it. You'll have to go there. It's not on the floor. But I do have a serious announcement. The Statutory Revision Committee has, we request, even if we have a delayed start, we will meet 1 hour prior to start. If we start at 9, we'll still start at 7:30. If we are delayed by the weather, whatever the delay start is, walk that back an hour, and we're going to meet tomorrow. Thanks. We need to get this meeting done. Thanks.
So an hour and a half, because you said 7:30.
Right. Right now, the schedule, it's an hour and a half planned if we go as normal. If we get pushed back, we'll just do an hour prior to the meeting.
Thank you. Any other announcements and introductions? Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, we'll be watching the weather, and the Minority Leader and I will be communicating about what we'll do in the morning, so just stay tuned for that. And with that, I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will be in recess till later today.